Hello, and welcome to our weekly Friday Live Extra, produced in conjunction with Friday Live, which broadcasts over the air and comes to you as a podcast each week. Don't forget to check out even more about Nebraska Arts and Humanities on our website, nebraskapublicmedia.org/Friday Live. I'm Genevieve Randall. A couple of things coming up later on this week's Friday Live Extra. We start here with performance at St. Paul United Methodist Church in Lincoln. They are ringing in the holiday season with its first Friday concert on December 5th at 12 p.m. featuring Bellissimo. We had to go all the way to the end of that phrase to get to the pun on ringing in right there. Bellissimo, Lincoln's community handbell choir. And you can also hear Bellissimo again, actually, on Sunday, December 7th at 2 and 6 as they join on the lead center stage as part of LSO's Deck the Halls program. Here to share more is director of the First Friday series, Bob Snyder, and Bellissimo's director, Nancy Youngman, directing all kinds of things here. Bob and Nancy, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to be here. Thank you, Genevieve. Yep.
Well, Nancy, kind of curious about this for a while, and I don't know that I've asked you this before. What does bell choir sheet music look like?
Well, that's a very good question. Just like piano music. The one thing with it that is different, it's split at middle C. And middle C and below is in the bass clef, and then above it is treble clef. And that's because ringers follow along two notes, and so if there's a lot of ledger lines, they're not seeing their notes.
As any one person in the bell choir, if I'm in the bell choir, how many bells am I playing? How many notes am I responsible for?
Most people for two notes and the sharps and flats with them. When you get down to the low octave, usually I have two ringers unless it's really busy, and then three. And then also the upper octave, if you have the fourth octave of bells, those are all covered by the octave lower. There's a couple positions that if you add chimes, they have about 12 bells and chimes that they're playing.
This is getting more and more complicated.
It is.
What's really fun is to watch some, especially with the smaller bells, they'll have two or three bells in one hand. And the bigger bells are likely to get one in both hands.
Yeah,
watch the extremes.
Yes. Yeah, I think the weight goes from like 3 ounces to almost 20 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's a big difference.
It is amazing to watch. I've watched several bell choirs now, and it's really amazing to see the orchestration of it, how the melody and the harmony moves around between the ensemble. Are you watching someone else's part as well as your own when you're reading your music?
That's a funny question because some people watch other people's parts too much, but forget I said that.
Oh, sure. Well,
you really are following along your notes, but they really should be watching all of it so that they know what's going on. I know most of them say that they can hear their notes and the people right next to them, but sometimes they're not hearing as well what other people are doing. There is a lot of work in getting balance for where melodies are. And bells will go in and out of melody and harmonies, and so they have to play. There's sometimes you might have 2/8 notes that are melody and the next one that is not, so it has to be softer. So it takes a lot of coordination.
It's so different for me to think of playing a single line all the way through to just be playing little bits of that line.
Yes.
I think that is wild. But as a percussionist, Bob, you're probably used to that kind of thing.
Well, I was just going to say, with Nebraska being such a band state, if you go to marching band competitions, you'll see 7 to 8 bass drums. You can imagine how many in your group, 15 or 16?
Yeah.
16 or 17 bass drums lined up, all trying to play together lines and not wait to react to the person before them. You got to be on top of the beat and keep it happening in the melody.
Yeah, and I think that's the trickiest thing when you're teaching new ringers is to move ahead of the beat. You've got to get the clapper to hit, and of course, the bigger the bell, the longer it is to go. So I've always said it's more of a coordination thing.
But then,
anything.
Not only is there the clapper, sometimes you leave those bells sitting on the table and someone has a mallet and hits the bell for a different kind of tone.
Yes, it's very percussive. As a matter of fact, handbells are percussion. And several of the pieces we're going to play Friday and plus one with the symphony will be malleted.
We have bar chimes besides the
Yes,
mallets.
we do.
Yeah.
And we also have orchestra chimes that we're bringing. Bellissimo always uses other instruments. When I started this, part of that is the band person in me, I wanted to include this. The other part is that I think it's more interesting for listeners to have some of the other tones.
Yeah.
But with the concert we're doing at St. Paul's, we're using a lot of percussion.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me a little bit about that. What can people expect from the repertoire and the sounds?
Well, it'll be Christmassy, and people love to play at St. Paul because the sanctuary just really sounds great. I know the food choir enjoys it. We had the Husker Horn Choir coming in May, and you hear 25 French horns in that building. It's just an incredible sound. Isn't a bad seat in the house. You can park in the basement. It's supposed to be really cold this weekend, so I encourage people to come up 11th Street, and you can park underneath St. Paul for free. And we have an elegant light lunch at 11:30 and also at 1 o'clock. Really great food and very inexpensive, and it's just a nice event.
Particular pieces on the program you guys are looking forward to, or that have some special effects maybe?
Yes, people will recognize it's a wide variety. We are doing Snoopy's The Red Baron Christmas with a great singer we have in the group, Kurt Butler, who you know.
Oh, yeah, good
and
singer.
Percussion, we do have a couple of percussionists. With Snoopy, there will be a snare drum. We have 4 pieces we're using the orchestra chimes with. I think the most interesting one we have is a few years ago we had a handbell composer with our group. He's since moved to Illinois, and we miss him, but he knew I was a band person, and so he was always looking at band transcriptions to put into bells, and he found a very interesting one that I don't know if Bob knows, but it's Minor Alterations by David Leveron, who is from Lincoln. It's Christmas carols in minor keys. And very interesting and very fast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It really, like Bob says, you have different ones coming at different times. There's one section that it's at 180. Which,
that's moving, yep.
That's moving, 3 beats to a second. So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting piece. The composer wrote it with Bellissimo in mind. Definitely included the orchestra chimes because he knew we had that. It'll be a fun piece.
How do you overcome those timing challenges that come along with this?
Just anticipate.
Okay.
And just really pay attention and not follow. That's the biggest challenge, I think, in most groups. You tend to follow what you hear. And I know it drives conductors nuts because they're trying to lead you, and you're kind of listening, watching your music, and you're following. And if the conductor starts to follow you, then it's just going to gradually slow down like a rock rolling uphill.
Right.
So you have to keep on your toes and just listen and be sharp and keep it moving.
You know, there's a saying, actually, isn't there? Sometimes be sharp, never be flat, and always be natural.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry,
Chaboom.
I had to bring that up. Well, my last question for you is, there are these historic bells that traditionally have been played before these concerts, the McKinley bells. Yeah, in the church there. Are those also being played?
Nancy Shane is going to play before the concert, probably about 11:30, and we're trying to figure out a way to get it mic'd into the sanctuary. We tried a couple years ago where she did a First Friday from the bell tower. And we had a video hookup, but there was like a 3-second delay somehow in the system. So you'd see her play, and 3 seconds later, you hear the note she was playing. So it was fascinating to watch. But we're trying to work that problem out. We'll hear from the street, and it rings through downtown Lincoln.
So McKinley bells followed by Bellissimo.
Yes.
I love this. This is really cool. Well, that is Friday, December 5th. That's at St. Paul United Methodist Church. That's in downtown Lincoln. Every first Friday, those concerts are at noon. And as Bob mentioned earlier, there's a I love elegant light lunch.
Elegant light lunch.
That's is the phrase. I love that. And that's at 11:30 or following the performance. It's free and open to the public performance. Also, you can hear Bellissimo on the LSO upcoming concert, Deck the Halls, which is December 7th. Lots of bells to be heard coming up. Well, Bob Snyder, Nancy Youngman, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining me in the studio.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
More of our Friday Live Extra in a moment. This podcast and all the things Nebraska Public Media brings you are here thanks to support from listeners who become members. To learn more, head to nebraskapublicmedia.org. Holiday music and 2 Lincoln traditions are just ahead here. We've got First Plymouth's Aubend Music presenting Christmas with Aubend Music. That's coming up Sunday, December 14th at 4 and 6:30 p.m., along with New Year's Eve's Last Blast. That is a tradition as well for Aubend Music, December 31st, 3 p.m., which is not the last blast of the day, but, you know, the time when a concert is good, I suppose, on New Year's Eve. We're also spotlighting here Nebraska Wesleyan's Christmas program, The Weary World Rejoices, Christmas with Nebraska Wesleyan, which takes place Sunday, December 7th at 7 p.m. at First United Methodist Church. So joining me for all of this, we've got Jeremy Roberts, who is Associate Minister of Music at First Plymouth. He's filling in here today for Tom Trenny, who would usually talk about all things Abend music. And I am joined here by Tom Trenny's Wesleyan students from Nebraska Wesleyan, Nolan McCormick and Eli Harnert. Thanks for all being here. It takes 3 people to fill Tom's shoes.
That's right.
Yes,
Big
it
shoes
does.
to fill.
Thank you for having us.
Great to have you all here. This is fun. Well, preparing for these big performances, of course, involves a lot of coordination. What have you each learned about your ensembles that you're participating in this whole crunch time before concerts? Do you want to start with Abend music, Jeremy?
Sure. Yeah, like you said, it takes a lot of time and preparation. And if there's something I've learned about our ensembles from doing all of the preparation is the dedication that they have. You know, we have so many volunteers that give of their time to learn this music and work at creating this beautiful program. And so there's a lot of dedication coming from the Lincoln community.
Yeah. Well, how about from our Wesleyan students here for your ensembles?
I would love to shout out Tom. He would not say it himself, but he, especially in crunch time, really cares about the students, and he shows his love for us and encourages us in such a great way.
We were just talking earlier about our love for Tom and how he reads people, he can express things in the best of ways. Eli, how about for you? Or Nolan, how about for you?
And in addition to that, I would also say that one thing I've learned is that you need to have trust within your group, not just with the director and the choir members, but with all the choir members, that even though some days rehearsal might feel like we haven't made much progress, we get it done, and we are so excited for this performance.
Oh, that's really cool. So the title, just to remind listeners, of the Wesleyan program is The Weary World Rejoices. What does that theme mean to each of you as performers?
From a religious aspect, as a Christian, I mean, it's so easy to think about it from a Christian aspect. So the weary world, how Jesus died for us, and how the world is undeserving. But from an open person standpoint, an outside Christian perspective, you know, when things are gloomy and down, we can always look to music to make us more cheerful.
Nolan?
Yeah, I totally agree with Eli. I think it applies so much in today's world that there are still pockets of hope and joy and peace that can coexist in all of these times of struggle and sadness and fear. And we just have to learn to look for that.
I just had a coworker say to me the other day, like, everything's really great, but there are just a couple things that are just really hard. How can it be really great and really hard? You're correct that they exist at the same time. Well, Jeremy, both Christmas with Abend music bring a bunch of other artists and ensembles together here. Can you talk about your guests and who all is participating in which program?
So we have the Plymouth Choir sings, but we'll also be joined by chamber orchestra, so there'll be strings and percussion. And so those are members from the community. Many members from Lincoln Symphony play with us. So that's a great evening. And you also talked about the New Year's concert, and that brings in more guests, our Plymouth Brass Ensemble, which is just top-notch players. They're just the best. They'll be playing along with a guest organist, Diane Meredith Belcher, will be visiting us and at the organ for that concert.
Very cool. I love the combination of organ and brass.
Yeah.
Both powerful.
Nothing quite so festive as organ and brass together.
And Plymouth Brass, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not a brass quintet. There's more, isn't there?
It sometimes depends on the occasion. It shifts size depending on what we're performing.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Many people here to look to for some music for celebration or comfort here during the holidays. What emotional experience do you hope that audiences carry with them when they leave your respective concerts?
I hope that we sing a lot of culturally diverse pieces, and I hope they take away, you know, that through each culture, no matter what you believe, that music is for everyone. There's a quote that I reference a lot. Music is the language of the soul, and it's what connects everyone together.
What are some examples of the different cultural representations?
So we're singing a traditional gospel piece called Gloria. We're also singing Keep Your Lamps, which is an African-American piece. Abendlied is another one,
Yes.
which is, I can't remember what language.
That is in German. That's by Joseph Gabriel Reinberger. And the first two pieces he mentioned, Gloria and Keep Your Lamps, are both arranged by Andre J. Thomas,
Very
an
cool.
amazing composer.
Very diverse music, and it's wonderful to sing and even more wonderful to hear. So
It's your turn, Jeremy, to talk about Abend music programs here.
The title of Christmas with Abend Music is actually End on Earth Peace. So often for all of us, peace can be an elusive feeling. We're pulled in so many different directions, so busy. If you turn on the TV and watch a snippet of news, it probably doesn't leave you feeling peaceful. And so peace can mean so much more than just an absence of war or violence. And I think it's something that we're all longing for. And so my hope would be that those that come and experience the music that's built around this theme of peace will leave with just that, a sense of peace.
Some beautiful voices to hear, wonderful musicians, and you can find more information about all of these performances on the Friday Live page. We will have links right there at nebraskapublicmedia.org. Once again, Christmas with Abend Music and On Earth Peace is Sunday, December 14th at 4 and 6:30 p.m. The New Year's Eve Last Blast, of course, is Wednesday, December 31st at 3 p.m., both of those at First Plymouth Church in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Nebraska Wesleyan's The Weary World Rejoices takes place Sunday, December 7th at 7 p.m. And like I said just a moment ago, you can link to more information because that is a lot of information. That concert is at First United Methodist Church. I've been talking here with cohorts, students of Tom Trenny, who is usually the connecting thread between all these Abend Music and Wesleyan events. Nolan and Eli are students at Wesleyan. What year are you both? Sophomores?
Yes, we're both sophomores.
Both sophomores at Wesleyan. Okay. And quickly, plan after you graduate. What are you leading towards in a career?
I want to do high school music, definitely high school choir. I'm a vocal music ed major. I think high school choir is the next step.
Okay.
Also
Well,
middle
for
school
Eli
choir,
there.
potentially.
Nice. Nolan?
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to stay in Nebraska for a while after I graduate and teach middle school or high school choir preferably, and maybe even pursue my graduate or other degrees in the future.
Nice. Excellent. This makes me feel good, Jeremy. How
Yeah,
about you?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The future is bright.
The future is bright. Well, Nolan, Eli, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Friday Live Extra. Don't forget to check out a full Friday Live show, too, by subscribing to the Friday Live podcast. Listen online at nebraskapublicmedia.org/Friday Live, or tune in at 10 a.m. Central every Friday for the broadcast on Nebraska Public Media.